Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Racha Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Deuteronomy, the 4th chapter. Now therefore hearken, O Israel, unto the statutes and unto the judgments which I teach you, for to do them, that ye may live. Now remember, Moses is still speaking to the children of Israel here as they are on the east side of Jordan. So as he gives them that recap, he now admonishes them, right, or exhorts them to remain obedient to the Lord, that ye may live and go in and possess the land which the Lord, Yahweh, God of your fathers, giveth you. Ye shall not add unto the word which I command you, neither shall ye diminish aught from it. So everything that I command you to do, follow it exactly, that ye may keep the commandments of the Lord your God, which I commanded you. Your eyes have seen what the Lord did because of Baal Peor. For all the men that followed Baal Peor, the Lord thy God hath destroyed them from among you. Remember, they went in the way, following after the Midianite women, worshiping Baal Peor, and the Lord smote them. He killed them with the plague. But ye that did cleave unto the Lord your God are alive, every one of you this day. Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God commanded me, that ye should do so in the land whither ye go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations. So continue in these laws, statutes, and commandments, because that's what guides you, right? That's how you constitute yourself, right? That's how you function as a society. And the reason he said, right, it's your wisdom and understanding in the sight of the nations, because as it says, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. See, and when you really look at the laws and the statutes the Lord gave us, everything fits and is there for a purpose, is there for a reason. All right, there's a way to handle everything. Okay, even looking at the law of Jubilee, if you really look at on a practical level, all the things that it allows to remain, intact, right, to prolong the society, you'll see just how intricate these statutes the Lord gave us are. So as it says, the nations would basically praise us, really praising the Lord ultimately, but because of the way we would live, which is separate from them, right? It says here, for what nation is there so great, who hath God so nigh unto them, as the Lord our God is in all things that we call upon him for? See, what other nation has a God like the Lord so close unto them, that whatever they call upon him for, he does it? And what nation is there so great, and had statutes and judgments so righteous in all this law, which I set before you this day? Nobody else but you. Only take heed to thyself, and keep thy soul diligently, lest thou forget the things which thine eyes have seen, and lest they depart from thine heart all the days of thy life. So, be very careful not to forget the things that you've experienced and seen and heard of the Lord, to keep his fear alive within you, right? But teach them thy sons and thy sons' sons. So by continually passing them down, you keep it alive, right, within Israel, so that they may continue to fear the Lord and stay on the right path, lest you forget, and that knowledge and history and information dies with the old generation, and here you have this new generation of just a bunch of fearless demons. Especially the day that thou stoodest before the Lord thy God in Horeb. So especially that day, make sure not to forget that and pass that information on down. When the Lord said unto me, gather me the people together, and I will make them hear my words, that they may learn to fear me all the days that they live upon the earth, and that they may teach their children. Because that was a very scary thing for Israel to experience, and they let it known. They let it be known. They definitely vocalized that. And he came near and stood under the mountain, and the mountain burned with fire unto the midst of heaven, with darkness, clouds, and thick darkness. And the Lord spake unto you out of the midst of the fire. Now, when you read verse 4 and verse 11 in the NLT, it says here, you came near and stood at the foot of the mountain, while flames from the mountain shot into the sky. Almost makes you think of like a beam, right? The mountain was shrouded in black clouds and deep darkness. And the Lord spake unto you out of the midst of the fire. Ye heard the voice of the words, but saw no similitude. Only ye heard a voice. So you heard the voice of the Lord. You didn't see any figure, right? You didn't see any shapes. You just heard the voice. And he declared unto you his covenant, which he commanded you to perform, even 10 commandments. And he wrote them upon two tables of stone. So you have the two tablets with the 10 commandments on them. And, you know, obviously, as it says in verse 14, the Lord further commanded Moses on more statutes and judgments, right? And the Lord commanded me at that time to teach you statutes and judgments that ye might do them in the land whither ye go to possess it. So you had the 10 commandments, and then you had, in addition to that, all the other statutes and judgments on how to govern a society and the sacrifices and all the things that came with it. Take ye therefore good heed unto yourselves, for ye saw no manner of similitude in that day that the Lord spake unto you in Horeb out of the midst of the fire, lest ye corrupt yourselves. So keep in mind, there's a reason why you didn't see any figure of the Lord, because he wanted to avoid you going down the path of trying to make an image or an idol, all right, based on that. So as it says in verse 16, lest ye corrupt yourselves and make you a graven image, right, which is an idol. And it's called an image because it's usually designed or carved after some figure, a sheep, a goat, a cow, a bird. It says the similitude of any figure, the likeness of male or female, the likeness of any beast that is on the earth, the likeness of any winged fowl that flieth in the air, the likeness of anything that creepeth on the ground, the likeness of any fish that is in the waters beneath the earth. So be careful not to corrupt yourself in making an idol, okay? Whether it looks like a man, a woman, a beast, a bird, okay, a creeping thing, okay, or a fish or anything like that, don't do it. Unless thou lift up thine eyes unto heaven when thou seest the sun and the moon and the stars, even all the hosts of heaven, shouldest be driven to worship them and serve them, which the Lord thy God hath divided unto all nations under the whole heaven. So the Lord gave the sun, the moon, the stars, pretty much to all of us, right? He gave it as a way to govern time and seasons. And the Lord didn't show you a star. He didn't show you a sun when he made his descent, lest you seeing that would say, oh, every time you look up and you see the sun, that represents God. Let's bow down and worship it, right? He didn't come up in the form of like a beast where you would say, oh, that beast is sacred. Let's make an idol that looks like that beast and then bow down to it, because that's the form the Lord took. That's why he didn't show up in any similitude, any figure. It was just a voice. And what is the image of a voice? Anyway, verse 20, but the Lord hath taken you and brought you forth out of the iron furnace, even out of Egypt, and is likened unto an iron furnace because it was a harsh captivity, to be unto him a people of inheritance as ye are this day. Furthermore, the Lord was angry with me for your sakes. See how Moses keeps on referring to it, because it was it was that. So it says here, furthermore, the Lord was angry with me for your sakes, and swear that I should not go over Jordan, and that I should not go into that good land, which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance. But I must die in this land. I must not go over Jordan, but ye shall go over and possess that good land. Take heed to yourselves, lest ye forget the covenant of the Lord your God, which he made with you, and make you a graven image, or the likeness of anything which the Lord thy God hath forbidden thee. For the Lord thy God is a consuming fire, even a jealous God. So don't play with him. When thou shalt beget children and children's children, and ye shall have remained long in the land, and shall corrupt yourselves, and make a graven image or the likeness of anything, and shall do evil in the sight of the Lord thy God to provoke him to anger. So this was a warning here. If in the future you have children and grandkids and great grandkids and they start to go off, they start to transgress, and they provoke the Lord to anger, I call heaven and earth to witness against you this day. And oftentimes they would use like heaven and earth or a rock because they last, right, basically for a very long time. So they, like, if Moses said, I call heaven and earth to witness against you this day, it's going to be the same heaven and earth that's going to be there at 3, 4, 5, 6 generations later, right? And that same heaven and earth, if the Lord gave it a mouth, it can say, yes, I remember when Moses called us to witness against these people and warned them. And now I see what the Lord is doing because they didn't listen to it. Anyway, it says that ye shall soon utterly perish from off the land whereunto ye go over Jordan to possess it, that is the land of Canaan. Ye shall not prolong your days upon it, but shall be utterly destroyed. That is, if you end up, whether in the third, fourth, fifth, whatever generation transgressing against the Lord, he's going to make quick work of you and get you off that land. Okay? And as it says, ye shall be utterly destroyed. Now, it doesn't mean that Israel would be completely done away with, because Israel did transgress, right? But clearly we're still here today. But what it means is destroyed is, you know, from the state that we would be in, of like being at peace and being a united kingdom and having dominion over the land, that state would be destroyed. Okay? Not that the people would be completely eliminated. And the Lord shall scatter you among the nations, and ye shall be few in number among the heathen. And one other example is like, if somebody builds a sandcastle, right, and then you kick it, they can say you've destroyed it, but the sand is still there. So is it really destroyed if the sand or the essence of the castle is actually still in existence? Well, yeah, because the castle itself is destroyed, right? But the sand is still there. So I say that to say here, the Lord, he could destroy Israel, but not in the sense of like completely eliminating or doing away with the Israelites. So as it says in verse 27, and the Lord shall scatter you among the nations, and ye shall be left few in number among the heathen, whither the Lord shall lead you. And how mainly would the Lord lead us there? Through captivity. And being scattered, the odds will be stacked against us. And there ye shall serve gods, the work of men's hands, wood and stone, which neither see, nor hear, nor eat, nor smell. Because you'd be in the midst of the heathen, right? And then eventually, generations later, you'd start to go off even further, right? And then start to bow down to their, gods and serve their idols and so on and so forth. But if from thence thou shalt seek the Lord thy God, thou shalt find him, if thou seek him with all thy heart and with all thy soul. So even if after you're in captivity, the Lord has kicked you off the land, you're amongst the heathen, you turn and seek the Lord with all your heart, he'll give heed unto you, he'll hearken unto you. When thou art in tribulation, and all these things are come upon thee, even in the latter days, if thou turn to the Lord thy God, and shall be obedient unto his voice. For the Lord thy God is a merciful God. He will not forsake thee, neither destroy thee. So even in the latter days, and guess what we're doing now? We're doing that. And we can see the Lord hasn't forsaken us, right? Neither destroy thee, nor forget the covenant of thy fathers, which he sware unto them. For ask now of the days that are past, which were before thee, since the day that God created man upon the earth, and ask from the one side of heaven onto the other. So you can go and ask, from one side of heaven, you can search one side of heaven to the other side of heaven, and see whether there hath been any such thing as this great thing, or hath been heard like it. Meaning this event, right, of the Lord choosing a people unto himself, performing these miracles on their behalf, and basically doing all the things he's done for Israel. He hadn't done that before up until that time. That's why Moses is saying, since man was created, you can search one end of heaven to the other and see if anything like this had ever happened before. Did ever people hear the voice of God speaking out of the midst of the fire, as thou hast heard, and live? Or hath God essayed to go and take him a nation? So whenever did God decide to go and take him a nation from the midst of another nation, being taking us out of Egypt, by temptations, by signs, and by wonders, and by war, and by a mighty hand, and by a stretched out arm? So the trials, right, and the signs, and the miracles, and the war, and the mighty power, right, and that the Lord used, and by great terrors, according to all that the Lord Yahweh your God did for you in Egypt before your eyes. So when did he ever do that for anybody else? Unto thee it was shewed, that thou mightest know that the Lord, he is God, there is none else beside him. Out of heaven he made thee to hear his voice, that he might instruct thee, and upon earth he shewed thee his great fire. Thou heardest his words out of the midst of the fire. So the Lord had it to where you could hear his voice. You witnessed the fire, right, upon the mount, as it says, and heardest his words out of the midst of the fire. He did that on purpose, so you can witness, right, that okay, this God that Moses keeps telling us about, like he's real. Okay. And because he loved thy fathers, therefore he chose their seed after them, that is Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and brought thee out in his sight with his mighty power out of Egypt, to drive out nations from before thee, greater and mightier than thou art, to bring thee in, and to give thee their land for an inheritance, as it is this day. Know therefore this day, and consider it in thine heart, that the Lord Yahweh, he is God in heaven above, and upon the earth beneath. There is none else. Thou shalt keep therefore his statutes and his commandments, which I command thee this day, that it may go well with thee, and with thy children after thee, and that thou mayest prolong thy days upon the earth, which the Lord thy God giveth thee forever. Then Moses severed 3 cities on this side Jordan toward the sun rising, that is, 3 cities for the sanctuary city, the refuge cities on the east side of Jordan, that the slayer might flee thither. The slayer being somebody that kills somebody else, they can flee there, which should kill his neighbor unawares. So accident, right? You kill somebody on accident, you have somewhere you can flee to. And hated him not in times past, and that fleeing onto one of these cities he might live. So that way you're not, the avenger doesn't just catch you and kill your ass. Namely, Bezir in the wilderness, in the plain country of the Reubenites, and Ramoth in Gilead of the Gadites, and Golan in Bashan of the Manassites. So these are the 3 cities over there in the territory of Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh. And that is Bezir, Ramoth, and Golan. And this is the law which Moses set before the children of Israel. These are the testimonies and the statutes and the judgments which Moses spake unto the children of Israel after they came forth out of Egypt. On this side Jordan, in the valley over against Beth Peor, in the land of Sihon, king of the Amorites, who dwelt at Heshbon, whom Moses and the children of Israel smote after they were come forth out of Egypt. And they possessed his land, and the land of Og, king of Bashan, 2 kings of the Amorites, which were on this side Jordan toward the sun rising, from Aroer, which is by the bank of the river Arnon, even unto Mount Sion, which is Hermon, and all the plain on this side Jordan eastward, even unto the sea of the plain under the springs of Pisgah. And that brings us to the end of the book of Deuteronomy, the 4th chapter. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Ruach HaKodesh. Until next time, Shalom.